Yeah. Welcome back to the house of fire. You know what I mean? In this reason, we're going to discuss fear. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of human beings who live in fear. But because we are speaking from the house of fire, what would I like to put it then? Like I tell you, if you are a friend with God, you can borrow anything you want from God. So it so happens that fear have an antidote. Yes, fear have an antidote. And this is fearless. Yeah. So you find that in the house of fire, Ayana is fearless. So having acquired the spirit of fearless from the terrible and dreadful God Rastafari himself, the one that dwells within all human being. This is how I get the ability then, if you want to call it an ability or an insight, whatever you want to put on it. But I have this ability then to visit the great master Satan, you know, because he's a bogeyman as well. Everyone is worried and frightened about Satan. You know, they bring a great terror, like we said in the last discussion. And then naturally, everyone is afraid of death. Of course, standing on the shoulder of everyone, ready to sweep them out of their precious life as it was. You know what I mean? So, because I is fearless, then I went to have a reasoning with the mighty death himself. You know what I mean? Because don't get me wrong, you know, I too was terrified of the mighty death when I was a youngster. Oh yeah, I was frightened, you know what I mean? Who wouldn't be frightened of death when you think about it? You know what I mean? It wouldn't be normal if it never crossed your mind once in a while that, you know, you won't be here forever. You know what I mean? And to imagine how life is spread, you know what I mean? So, that does bring fear to everyone. But you need to understand your fear. And there is no way that you can confront fear unless you're fearless. You know what I mean? Because fear is really fearsome. Fear. But trust me, whenever you meet fearsome, he's out of there. You know what I mean? Because fearsome don't care. You know, fearsome is fearsome. Chase away all fears. So you need to be fearsome. Or not fearsome, fearless. If you're ever going to approach the house of death and find out what is really going on. So anyway, we'll tell a story now. Having approached the house of death to reason with the great terror himself, which is death, I find out that death has also received bad press here on earth, because everyone is afraid of death, you know. No one wants to lose their life, you know. Even the bodies of man, when his time comes to death, he's full of all kind of terror. He's afraid of death. But having reason with death himself now, death is actually showing me that the people who are afraid of death are already dead. You understand what I mean? Now, like I say, you have to be a madman to understand 9th level teachings. Understand? Because when I first understand this, I was startled myself. Because I always thought that we beings was alive just by the fact of walking about and doing your normal business and everything. I presume that this was what being alive was. I was startled to find out from the great master himself that no, these people are already dead. So in actual fact now, I told you human being was crazy. They are afraid of getting old when they can't get old, and the great death terrify them when they can't die. But those who are afraid of it are already dead. As that explained to me now. So, you ready? Sorry about that blip. So, having spoken to the master death now, I was able to understand and listen. We human beings are not alive. We are dead. But in the Christian, because I come up through the Christian tradition then, you know, we vaguely know a little bits about the Bible. Can you hear these things from we was children? You understand what I mean? So we hear about resurrection. Well, I hear about resurrection anyway. And I was led to believe that this resurrection now is a thing that is going to happen, say, you know, when after you die, that you will be buried up, you know, as men get buried up in the ground. I don't know what would have happened to those who get burned or who lion and tiger eat. But as according to this theory anyway, you will be resurrected on the day of judgment, as it was. And this is how you get resurrection. But that is showing me now that that is not positive resurrection as it was. You know, everything have a positive and a negative. Positive resurrection now is when you resurrect yourself while you are living. Understand what I mean? Because if you don't do this process, you will be, you see what they say in the movies, it's not a joke, you'll be a living dead. You know what I mean? So the process of resurrection is quite simple. You know, it's the same thing that I always lace my reasoning with these things. That to resurrect from the dead, yeah, you have to self-discipline. You understand? Self-discipline now is going to bring, like we keep saying, the destruction of the ego. Having achieved this, you will now resurrect from the dead and join the living. You understand? So if you are a human being, as an example, and you are afraid of death, then you know that you have not yet resurrected. This is the call for human beings to resurrect from the dead. You understand? Because if you don't achieve this resurrection while you're living, you will be already dead. You know what I mean? Now, this is just simply like how Jesus said they have eyes to see and they do not see, and they have ears to hear yet they do not hear. He was talking about the living dead. Well, they haven't gone away, you know. They're still here on earth. The living dead. You know what I mean? Although that is not who we are, but we have become living dead because of our detachment then, if you want to call it, or our ignorance of the vice within. You know, for European ardents, this vice within is conscience. Because I'm a bush doctor, like I tell you, a gorilla from Africa. You know what I mean? Via Jamaica. I call that one the terrible and dreadful one, Rastafari himself. You know what I mean? What I mean, I to put it gentle to you then, it is the spirit. The inner voice. What do they like to call the eye? The inner man. Yes. Now, this is what is taking place. I've explained this to people before. I am not the inner man. You understand? Because the inner man is everywhere, in everyone, at every time. This dimension or any dimension. Because the inner man is a bad boy. You see? But Just like how you could get a mirror and reflect the sunlight if it's shining. And I could actually use that mirror to blind you with that light. This witch doctor from the jungle, way down there in the jungle, deep, dark Africa, Congo. I don't even come from Egypt, down Congo, you know, where real gorilla come from, yeah? Down there now, we can use the mind as this mirror by polishing the mind, yeah? I and I, a terrible and dreadful one, can reflect the light of the terrible and dreadful one, Rastafari. Now, this is the light that I'm telling any human being, whoever move up on the planet, that no human being can out-reason this light. You see, while I'm shining it, even if you was an angel in heaven, you understand, or anywhere you are, anywhere you are in the universe, when you see this bad lion here shining this particular light that I'm telling you about, there ain't nothing you can do about that. We don't really care, even like I say, you know, if you was a Buddha or a Jesus, you know, or you was some, whoever great you was, you know what I mean? Because don't forget, God is not interested in greatness. Greatness and super names don't impress God. Well, God is not interested in superstars, you know, spiritual superstar. I tell you what I'm here to do. I'm going to destroy the office of the teacher or the spiritual master. That's what I am here in earth to do. To show people that there is no master anywhere. There's never been no master or no spiritual great man. all that was happening was the light was shining through them. There's only one master, and that is the terrible and dreadful God Rastafari himself. So, as for like me saying I am a master, how could I be master of what? You understand? How could you be a master? Where would you learn this mastery from? If it wasn't from the terrible and dreadful God Rastafari himself. Because, like I'm telling you, it don't seem as if human beings can really grasp what the fire lion is telling them. But let me come clean and see if I can tell it to you patiently. In human beings is the spirit of the terrible and dreadful God Rastafari. Now, if you are not comfortable with the name Rastafari, call that one God, call that one the I am, call that one conscience, call the one whatever you want to call the one. Who cares? Because whatever name we choose won't be the one anyway. You know what I mean? But what I am telling you directly, that any human being who come out of them mother, who care when they did, could have been 10,000 years ago or 500,000. Whatever time it was that they come out of their mother and set up foot upon this planet, Earth, yeah, as an example, and they happen to learn any truth and understand anything that was right, who do you think teach it to them? Do you really imagine then, as an example, that there is two teachers within this universe? Let's say there was some being, some alien somewhere, there must be other beings in other dimension, these beings. Who do you imagine teach them the wisdom that they know? And whose light do you think they are living under? Do you think they have a separate light from the light of the terrible and dreadful one that dwell within all beings who are living here, there, or anywhere? No. There is no power outside of the one that I am telling you about. And like I tell you before, you know, don't bother run around thinking that I am believing anything about this one. I don't deal with belief. I deal with certainty. How much certainty? Not 100%. We'll repeat again. Say about 300,000 billion, trillion, and then you could add some more billion and trillion on top of that. So that means you're certain for like an eternal certainty. So we don't bother talk about we believe and you don't believe this, and we just tell people straight plainly then. Imagine in life you have the great big ocean. Springing out from the ocean you have something that man call rivers or streams. Yeah? Now let's say all religious books are rivers, or if you want to call them streams. All beings who has ever spoken the truth are little streams. But these streams and rivers are coming from the great ocean, which is Rastafari himself, the High General. So when I'm saying that now, I'm saying that as an example. I do not swim in rivers. I know about them. But I do not swim in them, if you know what I mean. They're a bit too, I don't want to say they're shallow. You know, there is enough swimming to be done there in rivers and streams. You know what I mean? But I prefer to swim in the great ocean, because I am not afraid of them. So I am now telling all those who are used to swimming in rivers and streams that it is now time to move to the ocean, where rivers and streams spring from. You understand? So instead of you then following your spiritual master, or your great religious book, whatever form it come in, those are just, you know, those streams are those rivers. If you was swimming correctly, you would have eventually end up in the ocean. But it look as if you just satisfy swimming in stream. So you have a lot of humans stuck in their books and following some religious man. How can you have a religious master? This is what I would like to, any man out there who say that he's a religious master. How can you be a master? You should have been telling your student or your pupils then that, listen, there is only one master, you know, and this master is within you. You see what I mean? And then you will be teaching them how to connect to this master, which is quite simple. You just tell the human beings that, listen, you must stop stealing and hating. You must stop being a racist. Because at the end of the day, if these sentiments are running within your mind, you know, like how I would say weeds come in a garden. If these take root in your mind, then you ain't good, you don't have no chance of resurrecting from the dead. You know, see, and no dead can know the living and terrible one. The only reason why people don't know God, guess what it is? They are dead. Any man who is alive or a woman, you know what I mean, would naturally make a connection with God. And like we say, God, this is modern times now, you know what I mean? We can use God as the computer where you log on. Now, look how simple things is now. I can use God as an example. Since as I show you, people say, oh, Jesus was a great man. I tell you a story now. And as great as Jesus was, he couldn't tell this story. And it's quite simple, the reason why he couldn't do it either. Just like I'm explaining to you now. Let's use the computer. You know, when a man have a computer in these modern times, like you, Marius, and you log on to your computer, you are now open to the information highway, all manner of information. Now I am telling these human beings that God is a supercomputer, and that if you should log on to God through self-discipline, you will be open to all manner of information. Now, even though they say Jesus was God's son, he couldn't tell that story. You know why? There was no computer in Jesus' time. So it's just a simple thing, you know what I mean? So, you see how God works in a magician. And like I tell you, as well, this is the reason why now I think God is making himself more clearer. I reveal himself to a bad lion. We are now living in the time of high definition television, where pictures, the television was always showing pictures like I said before, but now these pictures are more clearer. So if the television was God now, God has now made himself more clearer, revealing himself in high definition. You understand? So maybe that's why those other soldiers who come before I and I never did actually see the one, because the one was not yet showing in high definition. But in this time, the eye is showing in high definition. So when you see a bad lion like me come about now, I don't bother mince words like I tell you and talk about God in any mysterious ways. You know what I mean? In fact, what I generally do is keep God out of the equation and just talk to man and say to man, listen, before you can even know God anyway, yeah, God exists, but before you can even know God, there's things you have to do. Before food grow, you have to prepare the ground. It's not going to grow without preparing the ground. So before God grow in you, you have to prepare. So that means self-discipline. You understand? Ain't no way God going to grow in any human being unless the self-discipline. You know what I mean? So those who are not willing to self-discipline will never know God. No, even if you pray, I say, go mountain, go to Stonehenge and find out where there is energy in the earth, like I say, go there. But that ain't going to work. Nothing ain't going to work. None of these crazy things ain't going to work. When you're looking for God, you're looking in the wrong direction. You shouldn't look for God. You will find God when you're not looking for God. I tell you. Don't look for God. Just concentrate and do what I tell you. Try and clean out your mind. Live clean. Let your work be seen as it was then. And see what happened. You see, you will find out that God wasn't hiding. You know what I mean? So it's just a matter of levity. Right now we're going to fire out, see, and come back on the next reason later on. One out from the firehouse. Rastafari soldier himself.